And you kind of wonder why he does anything else because he's really good at this. But here's the deal. I know this is hard to hear. A miracle lasts for a day. It may have ramifications to go out for a few weeks. Well, by the time the person who was healed dies, or the leper is cleansed, or the resurrected person dies again, or what the unclean spirit goes away, but within a few days, in which it's all forgotten and over with. Maybe just a testimony if you're in the. That's why his miracles are not the main reason he came. Because they're temporary in their effect. Very important because they draw attention to the awe, the wonder, the majesty of who he is, how powerful he is. And we love that part of it. He does it really, really well. But what he does even better than that, what we're into right now, is what he tells us what he teaches. Because you see, a miracle, sign, and wonder, a healing lasts for a few days and months. But his teaching lasts. But his teaching changes the atmosphere of the room. But his teaching changes generation after generation after generation after generation. So whenever he opens his mouth to teach, it's a whole lot more impactful long term than doing a miracle here. You know? Praise God for the miracle. Praise God for the healings, the resurrections, and all those things. But if you bought into the system, that's what this is all about, then you miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is it's not about healing a few folk. Casting out a few demons. He's here to change the world. And what does that mean? What does he like when he teaches? What does he say? When he teaches, he actually releases a portal, opens a portal between heaven and earth. When he opens his mouth to teach, he opens a portal between the heavens and the earth. And he opens the way, paves the way for thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's why his teaching is more important than his miracles. And we're not reading this. We're just starting with that, his teaching. We've learned who he is. And the prophets said about him, what they said about him at his birth, what they said about him in his youth, and what he said about himself, by being out his father's business. We learned about his miracles, we learned about all that stuff, but now we're going to get deep into his teaching. What did he actually say? What portals into the heavenlies did he open? And what did he do to lay a foundation for us so we can teach our children after? Maybe on miracles, what he actually said. So we're starting with the Sermon on the Mount. First, real teaching. Concepts. He's finished his first healing in this miracle tour. He's opened the phraseology of English says, repent of the kingdom of heaven. Hebrew, Shuvana. Come back home. Come back to the purpose of life. Come back to your father. Go back to the reality of life, not your kid. That's an English concept that is religiousness in its nature and ties you into some action. That should. Shubha means go back home and be back home where it's supposed to be. Shubha na for the kingdom of heaven, Malkut Hashemayim, the place where the heavenly realm is functioning and operative is right in front of you, right at your hands, right where you are. It's open with you. Come into it. So this is his message in general, but now his teachings about how to get there. How to make that transition from the end of our hand, to in our lives, in our practice, in our behavior, in our conversations. So this is where the Sermon on the Mount comes in. Now, the call the Sermon on the Mount for a reason. And this is the theological reason. The Bible does not call it Sermon on the Mount. The Bible doesn't call it anything. And then you'll find there's another passage in Luke chapter 6, a little bit shorter passage, a little different passage. And it's actually said it's on the plain, on the ground, on the lowland. So he's got a sermon on the mountain, and then he's got a sermon on the plain, and they're very similar, but they're very different as well. And there's things in the sermon on the mountain, on the plain, that are not in the sermon on the mountain. One thing that's in the Sermon on the Plain that's not the Sermon on the Mount is curses. Interesting. Also, the identity of who's receiving the message is what it's all about. Because the Sermon on the Mount, as we talk about it, says he saw the multitudes gathered. right? And then he went and he climbed the mountain. And he took his disciples with him. And the Sermon on the Mount is to the disciples. You can argue about the Sermon on the Plain, but the Sermon on the Mount is to his disciples. And he gathered the disciples around him and it's like, what? We're seeing you do miracles. But what are we supposed to leave a lasting impact? What are we supposed to do with our world? What are we supposed to do? Because man, people are waiting. The multitudes are waiting for us. The multitudes are crying out for something, for a transition, for a change. What do we have to offer? What does the world do? What is the nature? What do we have to offer to the world? This is the question, unspoken question of the disciples, of the 12. At that time, they're perhaps even more. And they're up there, and he's looking at them saying, you are going to go back down into the multitudes, and you need to have something to be given. Something of eternal substance, connection of heaven, earth, the portal open, now on earth as it is in heaven, coming down to earth. So there's going to be some changes made. There's going to be some worldview paradigm shifts take place. So let's talk about it. So he says he opened his mouth and he taught who? He taught the disciples. Taught them because they were about to go down and talk to the multitudes. What did he say to this? What is the foundation of his teaching? He says, first word out of mouth was, you heard that. In English it says blessed, or some of your new international word, they say happy. Blessed, happy. They take it from the Greek makarios, but the Hebrew word is ashrei. And it's taken from a lot of teachings in the Torah and in the prophets and Psalms. And the word ashrei, if you remember our discussions in the first session, there were three verbs. And I said that he said, if you do these things, ask him when you do these things, then to that extent I will become your healer and I'll bring healing into your world. He said one of those was that you will you will build what? What is Ashah? You will build what is great. So this Ashrei doesn't mean blessed. Oh, see, there's a blessing that goes with it. It doesn't mean happy, although if you ever want to be happy, this is the way to do it. It means straight. So straight are those who, moving straight in the right direction, going in the right trajectory, headed in the right direction, connecting with heaven and earth. This is who you are. These people have certain 8 qualifications or 8 criteria to know, test before you go down to the multitudes, before you have conversations with other people, before you interact with other people in those situations. Here's how you know whether you're going straight or not, whether you're doing what you're supposed to do. 8 criteria. 8 evidence, essential evidences of proving that you are or you are not going the right way, saying the right things, communicating the right message. And the first person we want to know is, in English, is blessed or ashrei, are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the poor in spirit, says in English. Ashrei, they're going straight. You know you're on the right track if you are, whatever this means, poor in spirit. Now, in Hebrew, the word for spirit would not be neshama, which is what we think about the eternal spirit, the Holy Spirit. We will only be poor in the Holy Spirit. We don't want to be poor in the eternal spirit. We want to be poor in the flesh spirit. So there's a Hebrew word for that, which is nefesh, which you translate as soul. So blessed are the poor in soul. What is the soul? Soul. I don't know what past me, but most of you know these things. Soul is the mind. So poor in mind. What does that mean? You don't think too highly of yourself. You don't think somehow that you know all this stuff. And that other people don't know this stuff. You sit there and understand we are in a human condition of unknowing. And rely upon God to teach us what we need to know. And that we don't go into preconceived notions and package sermons and package messages. Everything is an encounter with the creator of the universe. And so if you're poor in mind, because you're poor in soul, because you're poor in spirit, then you understand that you have nothing in yourself to give out of your life. You don't know enough doctrine. You don't know enough creeds. You don't know enough dogma. You don't know enough confessions. You don't know about anything. You don't know anything except one thing you have. That's the connection you have with the creator of the universe, the heavenly throne. So that's all you need to bless those that are ashrei, or those who are poor Nephesh, that would be the mind, also the will. So what does it mean to be poor in will? It means you don't have a whole agenda where it's stuck. But you're trying to get home. You don't have an agenda at all. This is hard for human beings. This is really hard for human beings who are called in religion. We have to have an agenda. We force our agenda on other people. You need to have the Bible and the Lord's Supper every quarter. You need to have witness for people today. You need to memorize certain scriptures and give them the roll road. Whatever our dogma tells us to do, that's our agenda. And it's like, okay, I've got to spew my agenda. And then trust the Lord to take it. No, it's not flexible. That's being rich in spirit, rich in will. You got your own will. Now, do you want people to pay you? Or treat you nice? Or consider you to be spiritual? You want something from people. That's not the basis of ministry. That's not the basis of what you're going to do when you go back to the multitude. If you're in the kingdom, if you're straight, if you're moving in the right direction, you will not be that. You will be poor in mind, in the way you think of things. Be poor in will. And here's the other part. The third part, what's the third part of the net? Okay, this is God's to America, not to the world, the Lord. Emotions are in God. How I feel is everything, right? Yeah. How do you feel about that? How does that make me feel? Does that hurt? Does that hurt your feelings? Then, if you're poor in emotions, you overcome the emotions that are there. You know your flesh has emotions. They're not evil. They're just distracting. Distracting from the plan of God. So now learn not let your emotions get in the way. Before it's here, you not let your own emotions, your own sense of right and wrong, your own sense of what you want to see happen, get in the way. I pray for a lot of people to be healed, delivered. Sometimes, I'll confess, I want to see it happen because I want to see it happen. It fit my agenda to see it happen. Hello? It really wasn't about what God wanted. It really wasn't about, I convinced myself it had to be His will because I wanted it so much. And what did I just do? I took the place of God. I took God off this soul and put myself into it. And I told Him, I know what you want without Him telling me what He wants. So if you are fighting, and it's like, I catch myself doing these sort of things. And what are you thinking? You need to go home and sit down and give him time out from it. You need to get out of this stuff. This religion, they will kill you. It'll kill everybody you touch. So being poor of mind, being poor of will, being poor of spirit, this is how you know you're astray. And if you're rich, if you're thinking a lot about yourself, and a lot about your agenda, what you want, you think a lot about how you felt makes you feel, or how other people feel about it, then you realize you're not on target. And before you go down and talk to multitudes, before you deal with multitudes and interactions and transactions with the multitudes, you need to get it straight. Disciples are listening. So this is just one of Vegas. This is just one of Vegas. Now here's the deal about it. If you learn how to become poor in nephesh, and let your mind and your will and your emotion be governed by the Holy Spirit, by the Holy One, and by my teachings instead of by your own wills and your own wishes, your own desires, your own feelings. If you let this happen, then you just reach the line, over the line between your worldly experience and the kingdom of heaven. You have just been released the kingdom of heaven. So blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall. There's the kingdom. Now, this world, this day, this moment. That's the key. Step one, getting the kingdom of heaven, this whole heaven coming to earth. Is to get out of our own thoughts and our own heads, get out of our own will, our own agendas, or our religious agenda, or whatever they be, our cultural, our national, our ethnic agendas. Get out beyond above all that stuff and say, what do you want? What is your will? That's all it is. What is your will? And then say, okay, what I feel about it doesn't really make a hell of any difference. My emotions do not matter. other than a warning sign to tell me I got an issue going on. I want to self in this whole process. Because I'm obviously not surrendered, or it wouldn't hurt. If I'm surrendered to you, what they do to me doesn't matter. So we have the first issue. Blessed are the ones that are poor in spirit. So any thoughts about that one before we go to other 7?
Can you say the Hebrew words again for poor in spirit?
Yeah, it will say. Okay. In Hebrew, it would be aniyeh hanet. Aniyeh hanet. Ani means poor, or we translate as poor. It means not puffed up, not putting on airs, humble, a lot of humility to it. So it's like when you're poor, you don't put on airs, right? You know you ain't got no money, you don't make right, you don't break. It's just that whole humility factor on it. So that's what it would be in Hebrew. And it's those who recognize, I got this in a little outline that I did for this video teaching. Those who recognize, acknowledge, and even celebrate their dependence upon God alone. The Holy One, and of course, the most important one we're dependent on. And we co-labor with him, and we co-labor with other humans, and we are not responsible for anybody's salvation, or their healing, or their belief system. We're not responsible for this. We understand we're just workers. We're just co-laborers. And we do what we can do and are told to do. We follow the instructions, and whatever happens, happens. This is the idea of being poor in spirit. It's important for us to learn this. And learn it again now because this has been so perverted by the world. We thought how to get happy is to be poor in spirit, whatever that means. So that's our first look, being poor in spirit. What's the opposite of being poor in spirit? Because you see, in Hebrew, everything's got a parallel way. You got the one thing, you got its opposite. So what's the opposite of being poor in damage? On DJ, on damage. What's the difference? What's the opposite? Arrogant, proud, self-willed, emotionally driven. All these things are opposites. So if you are emotionally driven about things, you're all up in your emotions. If you're focused on all empathy and sympathy, not that there's anything wrong with those, that's not the kingdom of heaven. If you're focusing on your will and getting your ministry promoted, if focusing on your ideas, your theories, and your doctrines, and that's right, and everything else is wrong, then you see it, understand, you just prove you are outside of the kingdom of heaven. You're not going straight. You're not bringing the kingdom of earth. So that's the first one. Next time a couple of times is blessed, arch, ashrei, strength, level, plumb, all target, versus out in the weeds, are the mercy. Mercy. So we understand Yeshua did not speak in English. He didn't use the word mercy. It's a shocking thing, right? Because we read in the English Bible, it's translation, it's a translation, and it looks like it says mercy. Well, it says it's a translation of a Hebrew that was translated into Greek. So what's it? It's event. And not evil. And it spells those like EVEL will be aware as the ring. Merciful. If you're not merciful, this is a critical factor. If you are not merciful, basically he's saying, please don't go down to the multitudes. Because you are not going to release the people. If you're judgmental, if you're critical, if you want to punish or you want to correct or you want to tell people what's wrong with them, if that's your motivation, do not go down there. You're not going to represent me. You're going to represent some form of religion. You're going to represent some form of doctrine or theology. You're going to be looking externally and finding other people where they are as opposed to dealing with them from the standpoint of having this thought processes, which is this can be fixed. You know what I just said? what he shows us. A mark of the kingdom, one of the attributes that tell you you're going straight is that you are merciful. I'm seeing so little mercy in Christianity today. I see a lot of judgmentalism. I see a desire so much that you'll twist the scripture and say, well, he didn't really mean no tempt. Because we're smart, we're intelligent, we're trained, we have us in breed. We can judge all we want. We're supposed to judge. And what he just said is you just disqualified yourself from having any impact in the world, other than negative. Why you just push people away with that? You cannot fix anybody by judging them. God, on the other hand, judge only once. That's his business. You, as an individual, as a servant of the king, cannot do that. This is kind of scary because you see he's hitting, it's not going to live, just going to the heart. At heart, are we merciful? Would we rather give mercy than judgment? You know, the prophet said, mercy triumphs over judgment. Does it? I mean, I know it does in the spiritual realm, but in our hearts. You know, you see somebody saying something you don't like, or teaching something you don't believe. What's the first thought you do? You don't answer the question out loud, but think about what I'm saying. Somebody's doing something wrong. Someone doing something dirty he's supposed to drown him. There's somebody else in it. They're both adulterous skin. There's somebody in a unholy relationship. There's somebody using profanity in ways that are offending people with other ears. Whatever it is they're doing, they're inciting violence. What is your first thought? Is it mercy? Or is it judgment? But Australia going straight wants to find a way to look into this mercy issue. Now, mercy does not mean acceptance or condoning of what they're doing. I had 6 kids and a bunch of grandkids. I'm talking about kids now because I don't want to talk about beautiful grandkids. I know it's hard to believe with all the beautiful boys and girls that I had. But there were days when they get all day long. It's just like maybe for a week at a time. They just kept doing this stuff. And I knew it was wrong, and I knew it was bad, and it's going to be bad for the long run. After a while, he said, okay, I'm fed up with this. Anybody else like this? I'm fed up with this. And I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to tell you all about it. I'm going to intervene, and some of them did it, some of them went well, some of them didn't. Most of my biggest problems were about that situation. I would make a strong stance, and I didn't consider any way in which this could be healed, just how bad this was. Things like that. So, do you understand what we're saying? If it doesn't mean you condone and say it's okay for you to do this. John Michael should say his name. Well, John Michael was the youngest of the boys. Those are kids. And John Michael was sort of like this, he was the compliant child. But he hung around his own brothers and their friends. I remember one day I was walking in the backyard to do something, and he and his brothers were playing in the backyard with some of their friends. And somebody said a really nasty word. Wasn't our kids in that conversation? And John Michael says, yeah, so, and he says it again. It's like, shocked me. It totally blew me away. That's precious little mouth. And you know who he is, and you know what he does, and you know, it still would be shocking for you to hear him say things like that because of how much worship is in this heart and how pure it is. But and that he's repeating what somebody else said, and he's like, no. It's like, okay. So my reaction was, get over it. We went for a walk, had a little talk. And it wasn't a pleasant little talk. at that particular place. Now, the point of all this, I'm saying, it's an example to show you that what we oftentimes do is react to something that's being done that's wrong without trying to find a way to fix it in some beautiful way. We want to stop it, not fix it. Not fix the heart of the person who did it. Not get some level of overcoming and over the process, properly over the whole process of doing. So blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Again, it's not about condoning this or saying it's okay. It's not about accepting homosexuality or abortion or that's not or adultery or fornication or pornography. It's not about saying that's great, good, okay, it's fine, it's okay. It's about saying, okay, this is maybe bad. Maybe this is not healthy. Maybe this is not going in the right direction. But what can I do that's going to effectively mitigate God's love in the situation to help them give them something better to look at? And I think one of the things I've noticed about Yeshua is, except with one group of people, there was a reason for that group of people. Except with one group of people, Yeshua always presented the positive and not the negative. He believed, he seems to believe that if you give them the right thing to do and point the picture of beauty and majesty and goodness, that will overcome the negativity. Unless there's one certain people that he knows has a major issue and has to be confronted directly. Those people, approach him with mercy. First, not to say this is all good, not trying to be like them, say, okay, here's where we are, but you know how good the goodness of God is in some form of in some way, but increasing goodness. So he said, those are the mercy because they shall obtain. That's interesting. Has anybody here in this room, don't raise your hand, ever needed mercy? You know, we all live that way. I still do. If I want mercy, guess what happens? He's saying to me, you're out of the mercy train. If you're not leading in the mercy train, you're not going to get on the caboose. If you're not leading, you're not on the caboose. So if you want to do it to others, that should happen to you. He's going to say that later. Those who. So this issue of mercy is important to us. The whole kingdom is based upon mercy. For now, it's mercy. Okay, so any thoughts about the blessing to those who are Australia, going in the right direction for those who believe mercy? Well, they should be comforted. They should be comforted with people not food. Okay. Third, we're giving 8 different criteria or proofs that you are or are not walking in the kingdom.
Well, you just said I should be comforted.
Yeah.
And then you went to number 3, and I missed something.
Yeah.
In what context are we talking about mourning? I'm not talking about just grieving someone that's passed. We're talking about mourning for the lost. We're talking about mourning for this kingdom to come. Or help me with that. How can we be straight on the right trajectory if we mourn?
Again, a lot of times it's helpful to define this by its opposite. So, what does it look like not to mourn? I'll tell one of the things that are important to mourn. What's important to mourn? What's important to mourn is the fallen state of mankind. What's important to mourn is the fallen state of creation because of the fallen state of mankind. What's important to mourn is the loss of the temple, not because of the building that we want to go to. Loss of the temple because it is important for heaven to deserve and the hope of the nations. People can go to the one place and actually have an interaction, communication with the creator of the universe. That's what we're mourning. And if you can't mourn with it, you see what the problem is. You're mourning about what hurt you. Somebody died. And that's a normal mourning process. That's not the kingdom process. That's a flesh process. So this is real and it has to be dealt with. That's not the kind of mourning we're talking about. Mourning that which is eternally significant. The ability to have a sense of loss for the entire world, someone more than yourself. So do you have a sense of loss or just for someone beyond yourself or beyond your little group of the other person you know you're deeply with? Do you have a sense of mourning for the fall of the banishment from the garden, of the absence of garden experience in our lives? Do you have a sense of disconnection, a mourning for the disconnection of human beings from the Creator? And the fellowship, street fellowship of walking in the garden in the cool of the day, as it says in the English Bible. Do we have a sense of mourning in there, of capacity to sense a great loss has taken place, a great deficiency exists in the world? Blessed are those who mourn because why? They will be comforted. Why? How will we be comforted? The very things they know are important will be restored. And they will be a vessel, part of the plan of restoring the vessel. Okay, that help a little bit. Let's do the shot straight, moving straight forward on the target, not out in the weeds, for those who are meek. Meek is another form, very similar to aniyah. This is anah. Very similar word, anah in Hebrew. It goes back to that issue of humility. Meekness is, as they talk about, a horse is very strong and stronger than me. Right? I've never seen a horse that was stronger than me. Anymore, their muscles are better equipped that I could work out for 20 years straight, every day, 3 times a week, and I'd never get stronger. Why does a man ride the horse instead of the horse riding the man? The horse could run on top of the man, be killed him. Why does the horse not do that? He has the power, yes. Because he is submitted to the man. He is willingly submitted and let his power be harnessed by the man.
We trust him. We trust him.
He has a relationship with the man, he trusts the man. He's joined with the man. He believes that the man is doing, somehow he senses that the man is doing something that needs to get out. So he surrenders his will to the man. This is meekness. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who are willing. And who is the horse? We're the horse. Who is the rider? The Holy One that God is will. So we surrender our will, we surrender our attitude, we surrender our agenda, all to Him. This is the mark of the kingdom. It's the mark of the Holy One. And this is the way in which we know we're in or out. If we have submitted our wills and our minds and everything to the Holy One, because we believe He has the right. Because we believe He's going to do something good, better than we can ever do in our own self. His will is better than ours. He says, what is the consequence? What happens if He is meek, the person's meek? He just says He will inherit the able to inherit. We get this idea of privilege, right? It's a privilege to inherit something. You come to your parents and saints, because everybody got something to say. It's something what you get. That's not what it is in Hebrew. In Hebrew, Yarash means basically to take a responsibility. We can call it birthright, but really it's a birth responsibility.
That's,
Yeah.
which is what a birth not really is.
Like the Greek, the French call it noblesse oblige, for the nobility, for nobility, there is responsibility, obligation that goes with the nobility. So it is with regard to the things of the Spirit. If we are, ours is, we will inherit, we will be given the kingdom of heaven to steward, to be responsible for. We will be given areas of responsibility in the kingdom of heaven, and ultimately in the long run, in the days of after the Messianic or during the Messianic kingdom, the millennial reign, that means we will actually have physical territories. We will be assigned to the minister on behalf of the king in connection with the king or behalf. That's it. But this is now, even now, we get the spheres of authority, spheres of influence, which we have ability to impact. I can't tell Xing Hao or the premier of China. I don't know, I wasn't. Whatever his name, I don't have conversation with him. He doesn't know me, he doesn't care what else. I have no influence over him whatsoever. But I do have influence over me. My parents. I have influence over my household. I have the ability, to speak. I have influence in this room, believe it or not. So I have the privilege of influence. I have the responsibility of influence. And I got to be careful what I do with that influence. And I will be measured in my use of that influence, because otherwise I can make you all fired up, blessed up, whatever I can do. I can make you angry, I can make you offended, I can make you riled up and different things about different things. But that's what a lot of those churches do. They get you angry about stuff. I would be guilty. I would be in deep, deep, deep trouble with my king if I did that. Because I have a responsibility to influence you in ways that inspire you, encourage you, and heal you inside, and inspire and encourage those who you really have contact with second in their behaviors. So this idea of being meek, being surrendered to the will of the Holy One and His plan and His ways, because we have responsibility to release just exactly what He wants in every spirit of influence. This is why I said, Bill, you don't post anything personal on social media. I've never seen it. I've never posted a picture of my food. I'm not feeling better than you already know that. It's because I have a responsibility to influence. You don't need to see my food.
We all know what food looks like.
Y'all seen food before. But the responsibility to influence says whatever I do post something on social media, it better have the flavor of God. It better have something inspirational, it's empowering, and not argumentative, and not dissension causing, and not taking one side of the political world or another. Other people don't have that, may not have that influence responsibility. I've got that influence responsibility. And I think most of you in this room know you've got it too. And you know you have an influence responsibility before you put your push button or set send button on any social media post or any letter, or before you text anybody. You know, is this surrender to the plan of the Lord? Have I fulfilled? Does this further my influence responsibility? Or does it not? If it doesn't, erase it. It's better to say nothing at all. To say something that's going to detract from your giving influence. Okay, so what else we got? Anybody have thoughts on that? Says, I pray again for those who hunger and thirst for sometimes for we call righteousness, for the straight good. Going straight in the right direction are those who want straight things. Things that you can build on. When I say straight, it's a building kind of a concept. It's like if you go down to Lowe's or Home Depot and you want timber.
You got people there, you know.
Have you ever gone to Lowe's or Home Depot and tried to take out timber?
Yes.
And you want them that are level and straight.
Yeah.
And you get to Lowe's or Home Depot and you look at the bin or on the stack and you pick it up and say, oh, it's warped, or maybe it's crooked. You say, I can't use that. Thank you. Yeah, 4 days to be mistaken. It was all for the ride. So the issue is we want something worth built. Some people want to build something straight, level, plumb, 90-degree angles. We want to have the way it's supposed to be. So blessed are those who hunger to have things, not just grow things together. You ever know a person who can fix anything not very long? You know what I mean? They can fix something for about 10 minutes. They can throw something on the thing. They can put soap on the pipe, on holding the pipe. You put enough soap in there for a few seconds, you can stop flowing. But in about 5 minutes, it's going to burst out again because the soap's not going to fix it. Most of those wonderful actually fixing stuff. Or actually applying something that actually works. And building a foundation that can fix it for months and months and years, and generations and generations. Wow. So blessed are those who hunger and thirst for that which is straight, plumb, and actually used to build. It won't collapse under the weight of pressure of the world's affairs. and situations and circumstances, and angry people, it won't last. I think it was the lasting eternal. Listen to those. I'll show you. You know you're going the right way. Whenever you're hungry for those things which will last forever. And will actually be a good foundation for other people in those generations. For they shall be filled. Filled is a interesting word. You see a lot in scripture. You see the English word filled. In Hebrew, it's maleh, which means that you are fully operational. It's not fulfilled and over. It means you will be brought in the fullest possible operation. So blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they will be most efficient, most effective, most engaged, most interacting with people in the world. So, see, she was trying to teach these people eight basic worldview changes before they go down and talk to the multitudes and deal with the multitudes and try to deal with anything in their world. Because this is the character, it tells sign that you are with me or you're not. Okay. So, merciful, we have the merciful David. And he says, then Australia are the pure in heart. Now, this pure in heart thing has a long biblical history. Who can ascend the hill? He who has clean hands and a pure heart. Left to hold is the Hebrew phrase. He who has clean hands and a left or a heart that is purified, does not have corruption all over. Has not been conflicted. It's not got conflicting loyalties and priorities. A heart that's not been poisoned and slimed, tainted. You know, anyone else ever been slimed? I don't mean the little kid story that squirt stuff on you. That's not been that Jew kid thing.
Been slime.
So,
Ever done it? You've been slime.
yeah, there's that physical slime. That's true. There's nasty slime. And then they come out of your end. Doesn't matter which end they come out of. Look, so it is with people's talk conversations. It's like John Michael, that example I used earlier. John Michael had slime. And he took the slime into himself and he just started spewing slime. And we do that every day, watching the political news. I get tickled because every once in a while, I used to get really involved in this stuff and listen to it all the time, take sides. And then realize when it's killing me and everything else around me, everyone around me is being destroyed by my negativity. And they got to take sides as opposed to just doing the will of God. So, you know, I realized that I can go on to a certain program and I feel like it's slime. I'm not agreeing with what they said. The way they said it, the attitude they said it. And it doesn't matter what side they're on, they both slime the people up to it. The liberal slime and the conservative slime. They'll slime you when you're riding in the car. They'll slime you wherever you are. That's a little twist on the bottom. It was a little something.
Yeah.
The world is here to slime you. And so when they slime you, when you take that slime into you, you're not pure of heart. And when you're not pure of heart, it comes out of your mouth. And the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. John Michael's situation when he was clicked something is a perfect example of that outside the backyard. He was slimed and it came out of his mouth. Well, so it is with all this political stuff and all this ideological stuff and all this religious stuff. You know, somebody said, do you believe in the virgin birth? If you don't believe in the virgin birth, you're going to hell. Is this really a discussion we're going to have? Is this really reading anywhere? Is this really helping anything? Do you believe that Jesus was God in the flesh? Is this really the conversation we have to have? Is this all this doctrinal nonsense people talk about? First of all, nobody knows nothing. The ones that think they know, nobody's. So perhaps maybe that's not the stuff we need to talk about. Perhaps there is something we need to talk about, but that ain't it. So if it's not what we're supposed to be talking about, it's lie.
So I was watching, you probably see the videos about the different snowflakes and how they form. And this guy was going like, if you say certain words over the snowflakes, even just think them, they turn into a different form, right? And then he went on to explain that water was memory because water is the same thing. And then he hit the point home that they're made up of 60% water. And so whatever you're saying is changing that structure inside of you. And that makes you think about what you say to other people, what if you threw into their water inside their water?
And that we get back to the discussion we had this morning about mom and the bitter waters. Yeah. So each of us has got a little bit of water because we got sort. We have sort of ourselves and sort of others, those people sort of others. So the issue is we could speak in that slime and maybe we could justify that slime. Or maybe we could throw a little bit of the tree of life. And the tree of life with its healing properties would make a whole lot more difference than trying to judge who's responsible for this sun, who's to blame for all the sun. So he's the blessed of those who are pure in heart. And then he says something really strange about that. By the way, the heart that he's talking about, the led to heart, this is going to freak people out. If you like the New Testament's English way of thinking. Because the word is clean in the Tahor sense, the sense of not being unclean. I know everybody wants to go do away with unclean. It's just about the temple, about the rituals, about this all. No, it's not. It's about your heart. It's about learning that this is still true. You can get a corrupted, clean, slime, filthy, destructive, dismembered heart. So is it okay? So if you have a clean heart, this is your criteria. What are the evidences of clean? Clean speech. You know, every once in a while, I was very sick or I'm sick or whatever you said that, we used to sit at night, just watch something video on Netflix or something. Just chill. We're tired. We're down. And so I have 2 shows that I watch. One of them I really enjoy. That's NCIS. Brisbane. There are like 20 seasons of 21 seasons of it, so it goes on forever. But you know why I like it? I have watched it 21 seasons, probably 2 times. I've never heard of that whatsoever.
You say that, while this concrete storm that we just had went on, I couldn't do nothing outside. I've told this story here before, probably. Charles Pierce, that made the Legends Body Creek and several more movies, I interviewed with him back in the 80s about a movie that he made, which he never made. He said at that time, now we're talking somewhere between 80 and 85, I can't remember exactly what year. He said Hollywood required a certain amount of cuss words. And I thought, okay. And now, as I've gotten older, I think, what do they require now? But you're right.
You know exactly what it marks.
The F word is taking over a lot of good shows. But I'm going back to what I originally said. I've never watched 007. I've never seen any. I've seen bits and pieces of each show, maybe. But I started watching Dr. No, which was made in 1962. And I think the first cuss word I heard was from the 1973 show. I mean, of course, Bond's got a few more things in it, but as far as cuss words go, there wasn't any until 1973. And I thought, why can't we?
Why do we do this? Why is it such a big deal? And it tells you in the story, it tells you in the story of society that we have trying to acclimate us to this.
Exactly.
Trying to acclimate us, we'll think it.
Okay.
And think, okay, and what that means is, as long as you're saying the F word, you ain't saying nothing of any value. You just took yourself out of the equation of having any good positive influence. You cannot say the F word or the other words and actually have any positive influence with it. only gonna be negative, only gonna be divisive, only gonna be irritating, only gonna be aggravating. It's only. Well,
That's Rosemary, she stops.
Ship on it.
okay.
You're all.
Yeah, yeah. So, you see the point. And people think, it's just, no, it's just what we do. It's just how people talk to it. That's not a good commentary.
No.
And now,
We have a responsibility to influence. We have a responsibility of introducing something beautiful. We can't do what they do. They, I mean, they want to do, it's not an external judgment we're trying to make here. They shouldn't do that. That's their business. But it shouldn't come out of my mouth. And I would hope you're thinking to yourself, it probably shouldn't come out of your mouth either. Not just because it's cute, or not because it's what other people are saying, or so it's intended to get your attention. Sound like, you know, why do the Chinese food, why is there always MSG loaded with Chinese food?
That way you'll be hungry in 20 minutes.
It activates something inside.
yes,
That's what we have to
like,
make. That's what curse words in general do. They activate something in you and it becomes addictive. All right, so now we understand the demonic strategy behind cursing, particularly the higher levels of cursing, but all of that. Okay, so listen to the purity of heart, because these things, they speak things that are dry, out of both the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you how do you know if you're going to the kingdom? How do you know if you're not? Then these things are welling up in you. Okay, like I used to say all the time, you know how spiritual a person is, how close their walk with God is today by what happens whenever they hit their thumb with a hammer. What comes out of their mouth when they hit the thumb with a hammer? Or, second thing is, when you're in the parking lot, going to find a place to park at Walmart, the big Walmart, which has a large parking lot. And most times you're stuck out the back and you see a parking spot, the second parking spot in the little field.
you cannot get to.
And you accelerate as much as you can get. But somebody gets that something before you do.
Slow motion. The faster you go, the slower you go.
And you had your blinker on. And you had to keep looking at that thing, you're waiting for other people to get up door that open. It's your parking spot.
It's fine.
And somebody who just drove up just pulls right in there.
How dare that?
How dare they? So when that happens, what comes out of your mouth?
Blessings.
Blessed are you, child. Roll over and someone. Now, see how you know whether you're in the kingdom or not. And
I went yesterday, I'll be honest. Say what kind of parking, because I gave it, okay.
every once in a while, it's getting harder now. My sister lives in Dallas. Lives in Flower Mound, next. She's in Flower Mound. And she's not driving as much as she used to drive. I once in a while, when I was younger, she was younger, once we together, I needed to spend some time in that car. Because I didn't know what not to do. I needed to see it right close, up close, and go out about how not to react to traffic or people. And, you know, I've seen more of my sister's middle finger than I've seen her face.
Oh, no.
That's to be honest with you. But that was the days. That was back to the days.
That's before really.
This before Billy, you know, Billy passed away. Anyway, but yes, he will really take up. But you see what I'm saying here? It comes out of you, tells you what's inside of you, and what Yeshua is trying to teach his disciples before they go down and deal with it. Your mouth will do this. Don't let this stuff come out of your mouth, because it tells a terrible story. You're supposed to be my disciples. You're supposed to be caught up as apprentices in the Father's business of fishing for men. And what you're doing is throwing that bomb down because you don't like, because they park in your space.
And don't have bumper stickers about Jesus.
Or they do have bumper stickers about somebody.
Yeah.
The Bible support. Oh my God.
Yeah, punk if you love Jesus, but you're pulling the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see how this one Yeshua is getting us hard on these 8 points. We're not there yet to the end of it yet.
Oh, my.
Before he gets to the similitudes about you are positive stuff, you are the light of the world.
Sir, I did not go, I didn't say anything. I was mad.
We've been married 30-something years, and I made her say one word one time.
You're a bad influence there.
That's right. I put that in bag.
I was like that.
Okay, it says, "And those who are pure in heart will see God." Now, that's a really strange way to put it, right?
Yeah.
What I think he means, I can't tell you for sure. I think he means he's going to see God everywhere. He'll see God in everything. He'll see God in everyone.
Isn't that what mercy goes to?
I think it does.
God instead of sin.
So see the sin, this behavior, the vow, bad conduct, the devil, and you see that the potential of God has been put in there, and actually a spark of God's identity is residing there. You just got to uncover it, get the smile off of it, have it called forth. Come on, first you want shit. I think God does that better with you, but yes, he first wants to does. Okay, so that's what he says. He says now, straight forward, astray, going in the right part, evidencing the kingdom are those who are the English called decent. I want to use text group. Mix your text and Hebrew.
Oh, you had that text.
We'll use the Hebrew verb and I'll use both people. How about to oseh shalom, to make build. Oseh is that verb asa, we talk about every day, where you take raw materials, you add your labor and the blueprints you got in your brain to it, you put nails together, wood together, and you take this blueprint on this 10 page and you make it come into the room. Where people can go in that building.
That's how it is.
OSEH would be the right talk. Yeah, oseh shalom. As asa is the verb, oseh is where you add person to it. You add a person to it. It's like intended for to run versus he runs. Yeah. The Hebrew language is a lot like English language in that regard. So to oseh shalom. Now shalom is more than peace. Peace, I know we think about like maybe a treaty of the Palestinians and the Israelis. That's peace. Not really. I think we found that out pretty well. It's just a treaty. It's just a piece of paper and a few words, and hopefully going in the right direction of shalom. We're not really there yet. So it's not about making treaties. It's about bringing shalom.
Making it whole.
Yes, but shalom means wholeness. And wholeness involves a lot of attributes, a lot of aspects of it. But to make something whole, make something that's all fragmented and broken up into pieces, or going in which different directions and conflicting areas, and putting them all together and putting it in one thing and having them work. We think about peace, but it's like wholeness, wellness, provision, protection. We see the Martin Western kind of list all these things out. It says, and may he give you shalom. So it's saying shalom. And our Portuguese song actually says that cool, shalom. And the idea is you get wholeness and wellness and blessing and respect and well-being and health and protection and all the things built with this. This is what shalom means. It means all things that lead to wholeness. So blessed are those who are building all things that lead to wholeness. Or Ashrei others, moving in the right direction, evidencing the kingdom of heaven's interaction with life, interaction with order of life, are those who are bringing and building shalom in everything they touch, every situation they encounter. This is big. This is really, really, really big. If you understand this, because most of us don't really sow shalom and don't want to build shalom. We want to make our rock. We want to tell it, give our opinion. We want to give our 2 cents worth. We want to state our preferences. But what if our goal was really to build a shalom kingdom of wholeness and wellness, getting all things aligned where they're supposed to go and work God's way? This is what he says, though. Ashrei are those who are building shalom. And when they leave a place, situation, or a person, there is at least a little more shalom there than there was when they came in. They're not more angry. They're not more bitter. They're not more self-pitying. They have a little bit more shalom than they had before. Building the level of shalom in the world. It's kind of like there's shalom and there's chaos. Division, separation, dissension, all of stuff with the chaos. When you enter a situation, it may be tempting and teetering toward the chaos. It may be so heavy that you feel like you're waiting there yourself. You're going in the direction yourself. You're kind of swallowing that this system. But the idea is you've got a responsibility to be able to bring some level of back up. I mean, obviously, the goal would be to have it so good, and everyone goes slow. But we don't get the privilege of being the one guy who does that, one girl who does that. All we can do is produce a little bit, change the direction, and allow there to be a leveling off of the shalom versus the chaos. And if we don't do that, then we're not fully continuing. If things are worse when we leave, if people are more divided, more angry, more bitter, more offended when we leave, the whole is this, Yeshua says in this teaching, this tells you you're not doing the stuff. You're not accomplishing the objective. You're not on the target. You're way off target. And you're looking at the result of where you go and what you do, what effects you have on the environments you're in, and how people feel about things like that, and how people act after that. See what effects you have. Because you're supposed to be building a shalom. Well, this is pretty important. And if you do this, become a shalom builder, and everything that you do, then other people will start calling you a children of child, a Ben Elohim, a child of the King, the creator of the universe. You will be creative, thought to be creative. Why are you called a Ben Elohim? What does Elohim do? He creates. He brings forth all things into order, brings all things into order. Now, why are you called the son of Elohim? Because you're doing what Elohim does. It's not because you got a title, Ben Elohim. You got a lineage or a bloodline that's telling you Ben Elohim, son of Shaddai. It means that you're doing what God does, and you're like his son. This is like an apprenticeship. Son. My son in the apprenticeship. You're doing what he does. So I said, you'll be called the children of God because you'll be doing what God does. People recognize his touch upon your life. Touch the master's hand. I hope you're seeing that this Sermon on the Mount thing that we haven't got into really good yet. We just have the opening lines. We say our one word talk about today before we go. I hope you're seeing this is sort of going to change everything. And it should change everything. And it's not about us being happy or feeling good. It's about us taking the responsibility that made for us for the foundation world and walking in it and knowing how to and look at ourselves and test ourselves and measure ourselves as to which direction we're going and what we're doing, what kind of impact we're having on the world. All right, one more. Listen to those. When men say all that are evil against you, personally, when I say, and nobody wants to play this, right? Means they say bad setbacks. They're doing bad things to us, to our children, to our families, to our households, to our nation. They're after us. They're like, oh, man, let's stick. They're after us. They don't like us. They hate us. They say bad things. But hey, if you want to know how that looks, think about being from Israel right now. With the media saying what media says. Making this stuff up. They make this stuff up. They lie like flat out dogs. But they make everything sound so real, realistic. So you want to be offended by Israel. They're genocide. They're doing all this stuff. All this nonsense they throw out. So if you want to know how to do this, we persecute the revival for nothing. because people understand what's going on. Then you understand the rest of you, and that is who rejoice. Australia are those who, no matter what they say about you, no matter what they do to you, they can't wipe the joy off your heart and the smile off your face. They can't wipe the song off your lips. Because you see, it's not about how you feel, what they say about you. You don't believe what they say about you. You know? If I believe what people used to say about me, I haven't heard people say it too much bad of me. I'm sure they do out here. But that was a period of time in my life when I was really new in this walk. And people were not used to hearing stuff like we're talking about today. I was bad. I was dangerous. I was a rebel. I was whatever. I was looking at it. You know, and I was going to hell, and I was disassociated from the body, and I was putting Yeshua back up the cross, and I was walking back into the law, and all the stuff people love to talk about when they got no clue what we were talking about. And they were saying that stuff about me. It was like, at first, oh, that kind of hurts. It hurt the feelings and stuff. It's like if my dog could suddenly speak, he said, "Did you eat my biscuit? My dog biscuit?" You know what, it would bother me. If he doesn't, I haven't eaten this dog biscuit. I want to eat his dog biscuit. I want dog biscuit. I haven't tried. I'm not eating his dog biscuit. That's the way it is with the nation in Israel. They don't know what they're talking about. Let's make it so up. So why is he bothering us? Because he bothers us because they have no credibility. It's like, you know, they call themselves that isn't real. So why would you think that something is not real? So this is the idea of learning how to react or not react when people do mean stuff. Now you should understand, this is sort of like the highest level of the eight proofs. He does tend to walk it into a situation you're not going to be there yet. So it'll take a while to get there to process to the other 7 of the characteristics of a right person. But you need to understand, going to these places, whatever they say about you, whatever they do to you, whatever they do to your children, whatever they do to your mother, your father, your sister, and your brother, and whatever the nasty lies they tell about you, you just keep doing what you're supposed to do. As a matter of fact, you'll just keep doing what you do. You enhance the joy of the process.
You know, we just had this the Holocaust Remembrance Day, and I read several stories of the Jewish people who celebrated Pesach, who celebrated Shabbat, who washed their faces in the snow and had made up their mind, I am who I am in spite of the way I'm being treated because I am a Jew. And I read some of these stories and I was so amazed at their strength of giving thanks for watering suit made with dirt and being able to wash their face in the snow and dress their wounds with the ice. And the thing is, this pure in heart, this whole thing that made them able to withstand this persecution was the purity of their heart. It was like you said, this 8th beatitude that we call them is the culmination of this kingdom persona, because everything, all the other 7 lay this foundation for being able to withstand this ultimate test. And that is when you see this situation, and I mean, just the worst possible thing is this Holocaust to me. When you are living this, do you still see God? When you are living this, are you still able to show mercy and have an understanding? Are you still mourning for the souls of these people that are doing the very persecuting? Are these steps to this 8th level? You know, if you get those down, then when this 8th level does come, and it will, we think we've been persecuted in some way, but we didn't have the straw removed. We were making great son of the whips of the Egyptians. We have not lived any of this persecution
like some of the custody people, that's what, yes, but I'm gonna tell you, Messiah said, when the storm comes. Not if the storm comes. And I think that we, if we're alive, when things really, really heat up, that we're going to need these 8 teachings, basic keys to the kingdom teachings that you're laying out before us to be able to step up and be able to withstand the things that we're going to face and have those integrated and infused into our spiritual DNA. We've got to get these down, and I'm not even really realizing the impact of what these really mean until today, and where the Lord wants to take us with learning these things. But this persecution, and I just was thinking of this Holocaust Day and remembrance, and these stories that I read about these women that were still back, in their home.
Our worldview shift is that we have no right to continue these existence one moment longer. So, what circumstances and conditions of our existence are, we have no right to claim it. So we're thankful for the gift of it. As long as we have a chance to be it, it's basically better. As long as we're dead, we won't hear it. Whenever we're alive, we have a chance. So we give thanks for that. We're rejoicing. Okay, I'm about out of time, so I'll mention these are an 8-step plan. So remember the Yaakov Jacob's ladder, one of the angels of God ascending and descending on Jacob's ladder. Many things in Torah or in the Bible or in Yeshua's teaching as well are an imagery of this ladder. So each one of these beatitudes of Ashrei, this Ashrei says, is a step on the ladder. Now, it's wonderful that if it's a linear progression, step on one, you get up on the river real good, step on the next one, and we go to the next one, we go to the next one. But does anybody ever play Chutes and Ladders? Or was your kids, your grandkids ever play Chutes and Ladders? It's a board game. And Chutes and Ladders is one of the first, Candyland was one of the first ones the kids played, then Chutes and Ladders. And Chutes and Ladders is a game board with a trail you have to make. But along the way, you have chutes, you throw your die, and you walk, make your movements. And if you land on a chute, it means you go right back to where you started. But if you're on a ladder, you skip a bunch of steps you go on about. But it's go through the whole process with lots of chutes and lots of ladders. So you start out with maybe 2 hours before you get 60 or 70 pieces of places that you can go, because you get in that chute, you go right back down the pit. That's the way these 8 steps are. At least in my experience. So yours. If we get frustrated by the fact that, why am I back here dealing with being poor in spirit, or a nefesh again? We just hit a chute. We got offended, we got angry. We got hurt. We let our emotions get the best of us. We get all in our attitudes and our pride and our arrogance about our ministry or about our belief system. How much our beliefs are better than their beliefs. And their beliefs are all wrong. We got all covered. And then we're back down to step 1, which played the game of Chutes and Ladders. We got to start roll the die and start climbing one step at a time. Now, I think somehow the Holy One words or calling, he tends to know exactly how many times up and down the ladder we go. And where we're going to fall, where the chute needs to be placed on the game. Because we may be doing really good on 1, 2, 3, 4. But that meekness thing is eating our lunch. He says, okay, I'll give you 1 roll here, but otherwise, we'll go back down to start at the beginning again. Maybe if you add a little bit of time, you're going to learn how to do this. Now, not be upset, not be judging. He says, you look at him today, he said, Bill, let's just say, you got real problem of purity in your heart, of poorness of spirit, poverty of spirit. You got a real problem with it. I don't know if I did a problem with it, but if I did, and you could judge me externally and say that. Now, what you don't know is how many times I've been on the ladder.
Right.
And where I stripped the last time we ever got big benefits was. Now, so it is with everybody else. This is why we don't judge, because we don't know what he's doing in their lives. We do understand we don't want to participate in their negativity and sin, but we don't necessarily say, you're a bad person because you're doing this, or this, you're going to help you do this, because he's trying to get us back up the ladder. He wants us up the ladder more than we want up the ladder. So give each other a little bit of grace, with a mercy. And pray. Yeah. Okay. That makes you shoot some line of me. This is the foundation of the entire teaching side of it. If we don't get this, the rest of something teaches about, where the whole teach these all the way down for our plans, to improve it all. Not wanting the highest place in the synagogue or the banqueting table, but or doing it to others, we had to do it to us. Or building a house of all. None of this just makes any sense unless we get this wrong. Unless we engage with the ladder, the 8-step ladder, and begin to review our own status, person, right? Anyway,
Whatever the word.
in, I don't know what to say.
We do.
You good, you good. We do, hopefully. Vis-a-vis, there we go, vis-a-vis the 8 steps on the ladder. These are important facts before we ever get to any of the Going pearls were for swine. And going was holy to dogs. And fasting. And wearing all our sacramental financials before everybody goes fast and talk about it. All the forms of wisdom and even how we pray, all this is going to be related to this, our relationship with these 8 steps at the very beginning of this teaching. He wants to teach generations after generation after generations, lay a foundation on which the kingdom to come, the portals of heaven to be opened, and his will to be done, the Father's will to be done, whatever, as it is in heaven, real time, real lives, therefore.
Is this the message that you were gonna give last week, or is there a message from last week that we need to pick up on?
This is the message I was gonna give last week,
Okay,
so I just, it skipped ahead.
okay. I didn't see anything on the YouTube, so I was wondering.
My last week was a good, whether this week's the Wi-Fi. I went 2 weeks ago.
Okay, okay.
Okay, watch shoulder, everybody. See, somebody had the moral surface for dinner.
Yes.
East View. I didn't turn it off, so.
Thanks, Bill.
It was more rain for that church. And here.
You know,